Kenny, it's your always upbeat attitude that I really appreciate.
I'm just practical. I've lived through so much in 68 years. I don't, I always expect the worst, and when it doesn't happen, I have a very pleasant surprise. And I'm glad people can tell me I'm wrong. I enjoy being wrong. Oh, back a couple of years ago, when they were going through the reporter building and wanted to get things cleaned out, get stuff, I said, you know, it almost seems like they're getting ready to sell us. Oh, no, they're not gonna sell us. No, you're wrong. About 8 months later, they sold us.
Yeah, I went through that 3 times, so I know what it looked like.
So, somebody said, I hate when you're around. I hate it.
Enough space here?
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm not gonna bring my laptop.
And I found out they're gonna be doing North Park.
Yeah, the next section was Kreider with Reed Rock. The next section north of that is Walton with Mine. That's all we were supposed to design.
Oh, Dan Baston.
Good morning, Ryan. Good morning. How are you this fine, lovely day?
It's lovely, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm fine. How are you? Are you feeling okay? And everybody feeling okay?
Yeah,
There's a lot of stuff happening.
really a lot. I'm super duper congested and I just got through having a sneezing attack. I hope I don't happen again here soon. But as far as everything else, yeah.
Good.
But yes, there is.
But you were aware that this came out. Were you aware this came out?
No. Oh, okay.
And Jim said that was perfectly within the letter of the law.
Okay.
We have a 60-day window on any parcels that we did not receive a bid to accept one within 60 days.
Okay. Sounds good.
But you were gone. You didn't have to come back. Oh, that's the thing to do anymore. Whoever knew staycation would become so popular.
By the way, you like your picture in the paper?
Mine? Where my picture come from?
Oh. Weren't you the one in maintenance?
No. I'm the health department nurse.
He was in the paper one day.
All right, I'm sorry. I can't tell with these masks on. Everybody knows.
Yes.
And we are recording.
Well, you have to win.
She does resemble her.
I made that mistake too. Yep. I thought he was.
Heard he would, but I haven't seen him.
Hey Josh, while you're up here, real fast, had you heard from Jim? Okay. Sorry, it's okay. Wow. Great.
Could have moved the meeting.
They let Jim stay in Florida.
That's right. He said he was still gonna build.
You're gonna visit by computer?
Good morning, everyone. I'd like to call to order the November 25th meeting of the Morgan County Board of Commissioners. If you would please stand with me for the pledge and then remain standing for invocation. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Would you bow your heads, please? Most gracious Heavenly Father, we just want to give you all the praise and the honor and the glory, Lord. We want to ask that you please be with several families out there that's going through some terrible losses, Father, with the Kemp family and the Zoller family and the King family and the Evans family. You've got so many out there that's losing loved ones. We just ask that you please be with all of our first responders, and please be with all the ones on the front line in the hospitals as well, Lord. We ask that you please touch them with your healing hand, because we know so many people are being affected with it. Some of them are not even showing signs, and other ones are really gravely ill, Lord. We just know that you know it all. We want to thank you for your Son. Thank you for the Holy Spirit, Lord, and we just ask that you please guide us in all that we do this morning. Give us that wisdom and knowledge. We ask it all in your name, Jesus. Amen.
First item of business and our main reason for getting together this morning is the Morgan County Board of Health, and they have a contract to discuss with us that is timely due to contact tracing.
Hello.
Hello.
Jeannie?
We're just wanting to ask you to sign a contract with Fox Hire. We have, since November 1st, Morgan County has accumulated another 1,085 cases, COVID cases, and 43, that's an average of 43 per day. The state has kind of thrown back onto the counties the COVID surveillance, or what do they call it? Contact tracing, thank you. And so we're wanting to contract with this company to have 2 people full-time, 40 hours a week, 35 to 40 hours a week to do the tracing, help us with the tracing.
Any questions of Jeannie? I know this has been reviewed and a couple of tweaks were made, and it's being presented in its edited form. Certainly, Jeannie, and to the other members of the health department, you guys have had one heck of a year.
Oh, yes.
And anything that we can reasonably do to help you do your job, I support.
Thank you.
And what a tough year for you guys. Any other discussion on the Fox Hire contract? This would be for staffing 2 individuals for contact tracing. And I should note that this is not something that they're just simply electing to do. This is a responsibility that they do have imposed on them from the Indiana State Department of Health. Not hearing any questions, entertain a motion.
Could make a motion, we enter into a contract with Fox Hiring to do contract tracing as outlined, presented.
Motion to approve the contract as presented today between Morgan County and Fox Hire. Is there a second? I'll second the motion. Any further discussion? All those in favor of adoption signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 3-0.
Thank you.
You're quite welcome. Thank you.
Thanks.
Next item on the agenda, we have Morgan County Clerk Stephanie Elliott on a CARES Act grant application from election expenses. Good morning, Stephanie.
Good morning. Okay, so I applied for this for the primary, and we got about 35,000. They did actually give me everything that I asked for. For the general, I'm asking for about, let's see, $48,684.99. So we'll see if I get your blessing to move on, we'll see what the Secretary of State's office will reimburse us, hopefully the whole thing again.
So Ms. Elliott's presented a itemized list of the expenses that she submitted, totaling just under $49,000. Any questions of her on the application?
Motion to approve the grant application.
Motion to approve the application has been made. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 3-0.
Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
Stephanie, before you leave, thank you for a very smooth election.
Yes.
Record voter turnout in an unprecedented environment, and I personally didn't hear a single complaint about our general election.
We worked very hard, and there's workers out there in this county that I owe a lot to. I mean, they worked their tails off, especially those early voting workers.
Yeah.
They did a great job.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Warren will be here to talk about EMS. He had another obligation to take care of first, so we'll move some things around. This will give us a chance to deal with the item that just came in. We have a bid letter from Mr. Brent Milhan, Milhan Farms LLC. It is for the parcel that he currently farms next to the highway garage. You will recall that this was the only property in our bidding process that did not receive a bid. There was one other one? What was the other one? I'm sorry.
It's on Lingo Road down there,
Okay.
the very last property.
Right, okay.
Samples was farming it, but
Gotcha.
nobody bid on it.
That's right, thank you. In speaking with Mr. Wisco, the state law does allow us to accept a bid up to 60 days after the original window if it was a parcel that did not receive a bid during the normal process. So we do now have a bid on the property adjacent to the highway garage from Mr. Brent Milhan, the current farmer of those 13 acres. And he is submitting a bid of 30% of the gross revenue for the 13 acres of cropland next to the highway garage. So we have an opportunity to accept this or deny it, whichever direction that we want to go. But we do have blessing from our attorney to move forward with this if we desire to do so.
Motion to accept the bid.
We have a motion on the floor to accept the bid from Mr. Brent Milhan on the Blue Bluff Road property. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 3-0. We'll move into the mass gathering ordinance discussion. I understand that Commissioner Voiles would like to discuss a couple of points of that. So I would welcome him and turn over the floor to him to discuss the mass gathering ordinance.
I received several phone calls about the mess that they were creating, that they left, the noise. Those folks coming out off 144 and down the road and turning around in neighbor's driveway and with their sweeper out there throwing mud off the road onto their property. We need some kind of a control on these motocross events rather than have them fall into that mass gathering ordinance. I think if one of these were in your backyard, you would understand what's going on.
So am I hearing you that your thoughts are that we would need to contemplate a separate ordinance altogether to regulate some of these events that would be outside of the mass gathering ordinance, or are you suggesting that we look at making edits to the existing ordinance that we have?
My understanding is that it falls under the mass gathering, and that only applies to crowds over 5,000, and which lets these guys come in and do whatever they want with little or no oversight, and it's just causing a big problem with their with whoever and wherever they are. So whether it's in addition to the mass gathering ordinance, or whether it's a separate one to address this, I don't know. They need some kind of a permits or so on.
So you're thinking more of having a separate process, a separate set of rules perhaps for a smaller event, maybe something similar to what's done on the mass gathering, but perhaps less detailed?
Probably a separate ordinance would be fine.
Any other thoughts on that?
I know, I've dealt with this and dealt with it, and it's going on all over the state, and I understand that. And I know, I raced Mid-America Off-Road Racing Association for years, and I know the way that we did it. I was also on the board, and what we did in most counties, you actually had to get a variance, and that's what you did. You went and got variances. Marion County Fairgrounds, we was able to have our event up there at the county fair, or the county fairgrounds every year, once a year during the fair, because it was a fairgrounds. Peregrine Speedway, we did that till Keith and Judy Ford bought it, and then we couldn't do it down there anymore. But we did it down there, and we didn't have to get a variance because it was a speedway. But all the rest of them, our board had to go get use variances at these counties. And I mean, that's whether it was in Missouri, whether it was in Wisconsin, Illinois, Indiana, Kentucky, or Ohio, where we raced at. That's the way that they handled it. But that was off-road racing that makes a lot of noise. But I mean, we're typically out away from most of the public, but got a lot of farm fields and woods we raced in. So that's what I would recommend, just run it through the Board of Zoning Appeals, anything. It gives a chance where the public's gonna be notified, everybody's gonna know what's going on, and the board can make a decision.
That's one of the problems with the one they had. No one was notified. And
All of them they've had, Norm, whether it was on Vickery Road, whether it's on Low Gap Road, whether it was on Union Road, whether it's out there on State Road 44, nobody's been notified. I mean, the only way you find out about it's online. They've got the racing series online, but you're talking a whole lot more people than what we had. I mean, at our events, I mean, our championship races, we usually only had somewhere around 1,500, no more than 2,000. Some of these are drawing 3,000 people plus, so you've got a lot more racers here. And it's a lot younger racers, so. That would be my recommendation.
I think it makes some sense to, after the amount of time that was spent on the mass gathering ordinance, I'd be not so inclined to make changes to it. And as you've already pointed out, Norm, it's only applicable to gatherings of 5,000 or greater, which most of these aren't even hitting that, and they're skirting under that limit. I would not be opposed at all to having conversations with Jim Wisco in the planning office and other people that would be involved in trying to determine what we should do on smaller events. Not in a position to do anything about it today, but that's certainly a discussion that's probably worth having. Norman, do you want to talk to Jim about what our options might be and report back?
well, I just suggest we get our attorney working on a different ordinance or an amendment or whatever, and start the process.
Are you comfortable looking at the variance process as a possible solution as well?
Probably. More people we got involved, why the better it might be.
Sure. So is it fair to say there's a consensus among the board to continue looking at this issue, both through the possibility of a small event ordinance or through a variance process, and to pick this up at a future meeting?
Yes.
Okay. All right, very good. We'll pick up this guardrail discussion on Perry Road. I think this is Norman as well, receiving some complaints about the guardrail section on the overpass being inadequate in its length. I'll turn that over to Norman to update us on what he's heard.
Well, again, I got several calls on the new roadway out there at Perry Road in Lincoln. And it seems that they're concerned about the amount of drop-off and they're afraid if the road gets icy, they may slide off, and if they go off the road, they're gonna turn over. I think Sport was out there and looked at it also. I don't know whether he's got any comments or not, but might be well to hear what he has to say.
If you could come up just so if folks are watching online, this is must-see TV, you know, Sport.
Yeah, I see where the complaints come from, because that road is now elevated there, so it would be more of an ice catch or wind catch out in that open area. I'm not sure really how you want to go about that, if we should just go through the DOT and ask them to extend that and see what their thought process is or what, but yeah, I see where the complaints come
Yes,
in.
I agree. It looks like there could easily be another 20 or 30 feet of guardrail.
Yeah. And we put a few speed limit signs and stuff up, and we've kind of documented that. So before we sign off, we may have a few things there that we've went ahead and done to try to keep things safe out there.
Right.
Because it is really nice. And I can see how you'd be exceeding the speed limit, so to speak.
Right. If we're getting calls, I'm sure NDOT's getting calls as well. I would certainly support installing additional guardrail. Just looking at the photos, it looks like it would be well justified.
Yeah.
I'd recommend, though, that we probably notify NDOT and discuss it with them and see what role they want us to play in it, and if any role, and if it needs to be in part of our transfer agreement as well. That's going to have to be looked at, I think.
My understanding was that NDOT was, felt like it met the criteria for additional guardrail, but they wanted to somehow get the county involved in the process, but I don't know how.
I haven't talked to anybody on that side, so, yeah, however, you know, the best way to attack this is,
I think probably what we ought to do is, if it pleases the board, we can have a motion that we support installation of more guardrail there, and that we consult with NDOT on how to proceed. There could be issues with us putting it up, or maybe us maintaining it, or vice versa. And I think
if I could interject there, I would think that we would want Drew or somebody to put it up, that it would meet specs, at least this first round, you know.
Sure.
And we could maintain it after that, but.
Right.
And then pass that bill on or whatever,
Right.
however you.
Okay. Any further discussion on the Perry Road guardrail issue? Not hearing any, I'd entertain a motion on which direction we'd like to go.
I'll second your suggested motion there a while ago.
I can't make a motion. So it was just a suggestion.
I thought you could.
Mm-mm.
Go ahead and make a motion that we work with NDOT and get a guardrail up there at the Perry Road, Lincoln Road interchange. Whether we put it up, whether they put it up, but ask for them to design and ask for them to actually put it up if possible, and work with our highway department.
That motion is made and seconded as well between Commissioner Voiles and Commissioner Hale. Any further discussion on the board supporting the installation of the guardrail and recommending that we discuss it with NDOT further? All those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 3-0.
Or while you're right there, could I talk about one other road on 69?
Sure.
Egbert Road, right there between Egbert Road, or Henderson Ford Road, between Egbert Road, New 37, where the stoplight is right now, right there around that cemetery, you've got Kreider and Kreider dump trucks that's actually taking that road up, and it looks like to me they're doing it because they don't want to scratch their trucks on the trees leaning over. And it's really getting dangerous, especially with the dually trucks. I've got 2 complaints now in the last couple of days, and if we could look at that and see if it's something we could do. There's an orange construction sign they've got right on the edge, so I mean, it could be part of the problem too if they just move that construction sign over, but I think it's more they don't want to scratch their dump trucks probably. And that road's awful narrow, but that's the way they're traveling right now, so.
Okay.
If you
Yeah,
could do
I'll
that,
check
that'd
it
be
out.
appreciated.
I will reach out to NDOT today, but I did want to clarify. Norm, are they asking the people who reached out to you for guardrail just on the north-south Perry Road section, or also the east-west section that is coming parallel to the bridge? Do you know the extent of the request?
I do not know.
Okay, all right.
I would think you're gonna have a lot of them, you know, where the new road's getting ready to take off for a cemetery? You've got some pretty good drops right there, and I know there's been some people make comments to me about it, but nobody's really complained, but they just keep hoping there's gonna be guardrails there too, but
Okay.
it's not actually a complaint.
Right. And per our transfer agreement, outside of the approach slabs, that will be our guardrail to maintain. So they'll, NDOT, it's my understanding, if they work with us, they'll install it, but like the rest of our transfer agreement, we'll have maintenance in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think we'd be okay with that. Thank you. That brings us to our EMS organizational change discussion. Mr. Donnie Warren. Donnie's going to present a concept that he's interested in pursuing. And if it's something that we are agreeable to, he would then approach the council. But for our purposes, it's a matter of whether or not we support him moving forward to the council based on these ideas that he has. So welcome, Donnie. I know it's been a long week already, and we extend our condolences to the whole EMS family. I know it's been a tough week, and this is not an ideal day to talk about this, but we welcome your ideas and look forward to hearing from you.
Well, I appreciate your condolences and all the support that we received from you, the council, and the employees of the county, as well as the community as a whole. I've been very impressed and honored by the outreach of not just Morgan County Public Safety, but our partners in other counties as well who have helped us through this difficult and trying time. I know that myself and my staff and team appreciate everything that's been done. With that said, my proposal is one in which we are asking once again for the emergency EMS duty officers / field training officers. What we're looking to do is to come up with a compromise that helps to fund the EMS duty officer function. We are looking to combine the training officer QA/QI with the positions of director and deputy director. Most of those functions overlap, but certain key issues would fall under certain personnel of those two positions. One of the main things that we're looking at is the challenges to staff, because right now Morgan County EMS finds itself in a critical situation where a lack of multi-layer supervision is hampering our growth, it's lowering our risk tolerance with staff and patients, interfering with our ability to conduct proper quality management of the team, decreasing clarity and accountability. And I just wanted to share with you a few of the challenges. Now, before I get into the challenges, that EDO function, especially the field training aspect of it, it gives us a layer of management that's there for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, okay? It gives us the opportunity for the training officer position, those jobs that were in there, to be able to be funneled down to at a shift level to get certain types of training done on a shift basis, whereas the main training requirements would fall to the deputy director, whose new name of his position would be the Director of Operations, Deputy Director of Operations and Training. He will funnel down monthly training to those folks, make sure that it gets done, as well as operational needs, and make sure those functions are taken care of. Now, to the issues, we find that we are having to use certain personnel in great amount of man hours to accomplish the following: supplies and ordering, quartermaster system, light maintenance of our vehicles, and certain IT issues that we have with the CAD on our end and with the ESO MDT computers. Ambulances out of district for supply pickups is becoming a more frequent issue, as we can't find the time in the hours in the day to be able to get things up to them. What we've been doing is we move an ambulance, say 950 from Monrovia needs supplies. We will meet them at the junction, North Junction at 39, there by the church, to go ahead and change out supplies, oxygen bottles, and things like that. But that takes away from the office hours. Safety of the patients are placed in additional risk without 24-hour supervision. And we've seen that because we've been coming in some nights at 2, 4 o'clock in the morning from home to assist with critical procedures that need to be done. And those are life-saving procedures, and we have the proof to show that those procedures are saving lives. Safety protocols have been created. There's a patient safety and a crew safety document that has been put together for almost a year now. We've been unable to actually implement and put it into a fully functional capacity due to the lack of oversight of the protocol. On scene call involving multiple patients or poorly coordinated due to lack of immediate and continued triage and transport. You know, we can be there within a certain amount of minutes, but we need to have the incident command system and all levels of that started ASAP. And it can't fall to fire departments who also have a lack of manpower to be able to do that and aren't totally trained in how to do so. Lack of training via direct provider oversight on critical runs involving high-risk procedures, as I was talking about, rapid sequence airway, where we actually paralyze a patient and take away their ability to breathe on their own. Needle chest thoracostomies, cricothyrotomies, advanced vasoactive drugs. All of these things can task an ALS provider to the max, in which they would need secondary assistance. And I was hoping to have for you a letter from Dr. Austin, but I do have his support as medical director for this procedure, because he would like to see these people trained up to a more critical care level so that they can assist in these situations. Continued training with mutual aid and host departments needs to be consistent and maintain continuity between the volunteer departments and our crews. This directly affects on-scene continuity of service and patient outcomes. Operationally, the new position will be critical in the establishment of the incident command system, as I briefly spoke of. Would have the ability to establish ICS, act as a scene medical sector officer, thus improving the functionality of the uniform command structure. Allows for proper field coordination of triage and transport. Would have direct involvement in the preceptorship of our new hires, because right now that all falls to our training officer. We assign a trainer, but that will switch from day to day depending on who is on the truck. And we require 30 patient contacts before that person can be released because of the protocols that we use. This would also involve direct assessment of those precepting or being precepted and the preceptors. Improving the quality of their training by providing immediate input in correcting bad habits and reversing improperly trained or learned modalities. This will reduce wasted man hours. All of these issues are only going to be amplified as we enter what appears to be another highly active COVID season. The lack of these critically needed positions has resulted in executive management personnel being forced to reprioritize duties and responsibilities to make sure these shift level issues are handled. The number of hours worked by front office has increased due to inattention that has been paid to these extra challenges. This has resulted in increased workload and decreased effective time off. Currently, 60 to 70% of the text mails and e-messages that we receive every day come from the staff that need to have an issue answered that could be answered at a lower level of management. We have proposed solutions. Our recommended solutions to the mounting challenges is to delete, like I said, the training QA/QI position. We're rolling those duties and responsibilities into the deputy director and the director's position. The deputy director's new title will become the deputy director of operations and training. Certain training responsibilities, as outlined, will fall to the EMS duty, field training officers. New draft copies of these job descriptions have been turned into Doree and Josh, and we will complete the documentation, if approved, based on the ordinance that is due to be passed by the council. It would also require the purchase lease response vehicle for EDO FTO positions. Enterprise is giving us a quote on a Dodge Durango PPV edition, which is roughly just a little over $31,000. And it would need an additional $9,000 to make sure that we can get a correct light package and striping on the vehicle. I did put in a budget that would show the outline of this. The figures on what is in the EDO's line item now may be different. I think I may have been working off an old budgetary, but it should be in the ballpark of $30,000 that was left in that EDO budget line item last I looked. But by the deletion of the training officer, that will return back to the general fund an additional $57,100 to help compensate for the additional expenses that will be required for the EDO FTO position.
Questions of Mr. Warren? So that last part of your discussion, you essentially walked through the spreadsheet that shows that where your original request for this concept was in the neighborhood of $240,000 by taking a top line position and filtering that in closer to the rank and file. The revised request is approximately $90,000 less for a total of $147,000. Is that correct?
And that's flexible based on the fact that we need to find out exactly how much money is left in that EDO line item.
And of all meetings, for me not to bring my laptop.
No, and you're fine, you're fine. I know it's in the neighborhood of, I want to say it's right there in the neighborhood of that $30,000 mark, but the last budgetary that I had to work off of showed it at the, I think, $36,000, and that was right after the council had approved us using some money for the purchase of the defibrillators for the prosecutor's office when I had a line item transfer.
Yeah. I'll just say that from what I understand of it, from having discussed it with you as well as reading the material that you provided, I'm in favor of it from what I'm seeing. You know, your operation is not unlike the sheriff's department in the sense that you're staffed 24/7, 365. And in the sheriff's department, a deputy doesn't need to call the sheriff at 9 o'clock in the evening unless it's a true, major emergency. They have
Absolutely.
a command structure that is such that provides a good level of quasi-executive level supervision within the shift. And it appears that we really lack that on the EMS side. And I like the idea as well of eliminating a top-line position and creating more opportunity a little bit closer to the workers. It gives us a little bit more leverage as a career destination when there's another step on the ladder, if you will.
Upward mobility, yes.
And again, these are initial observations, but I do really like the concept. Other thoughts and discussion?
So Donnie, right now you don't have a EMS duty officer on every shift, it don't sound like, but you will
No,
have
I
with
do not
this,
have,
correct?
outside of management, there's no management outside of my office door.
There's no duty officer.
Right.
Right. The line, I think there was a mistake last year in how things got funded. Under nobody's, it just got missed. When I talked to Brian earlier and sat down with him, and he talked about his support for the program, Brian Collier, it was an oversight. It was shocking to me too, because I didn't even see it in the line item budget until 6 months into the year, and I'm going, where did this come from? So, and on a closing note from me, I would just like to say that it is my hope that in the layer of management that there is a certain amount of wellness that is added to this function, that maybe in situations like we're going through right now, another layer of supervision may have seen something that we didn't, that could have helped us prevent what we're going through today. Because we're all trained in what to look for. And sometimes it's difficult when you're as close as the partnerships are on the trucks to be able to identify. You're just too close to the problem to be able to see what's going on. And that's not me trying to tug at your heartstrings. That's me just absolutely positively being 100% truthful with you. The more layers that we have that can see those kind of things, especially in this career field, public safety in general, what we've seen happen this week is becoming a growing problem. And I, for one, am getting tired of burying kids.
Well, I don't think any of us, simply from an organizational standpoint, are rushing out to create lots of extra layers, but that doesn't mean there isn't a need.
Oh, absolutely.
And in this particular case here, you've reevaluated your request and thought of ways to present some form of a compromise. And a lot of good things come out of good ideas ebbing and flowing and ultimately setting on some form of compromise. And I think taking a top-line position and being able to filter out some of that amongst the individual shifts is a really good idea. Now, we don't get to make the decision, as you well know.
Absolutely.
But our role, commissioners, would be to, if we like what we hear and support the idea, we want to affirmatively give Donnie our support as he presents to the council. He comes fully knowing that these are salary ordinance and budget changes that we don't get to make, but we can lend him our unified support. So at this time, I'd like to see where the board stands on that, and if anyone's comfortable to make that as a motion.
Got my support.
Yeah, and I'm fine with it. I'd go ahead and make a motion, we move forward and make a recommendation to the county council supporting EMS services with this new position of EMS duty officer and the budget they outlined and presented to us today.
We have a motion on the floor to support Director Donnie Warren in his presentation to the council that the Board of Commissioners supports the EMS duty officer program as he's presented today. Is there a second? I'll second the motion. Any further discussion? All those in favor of supporting the motion signify by stating aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries by a vote of 3-0. And let us know what you need further. If we can put that in the form of a letter, I'm happy to do that since it's something that the board has passed, or whatever else that you may need.
A letter would be great. We will do our due diligence and start our conversations with council members. I understand, as you pointed out, that this is just one layer of approval. And when it comes to our service, it is a very touchy situation. I understand. But having your support means a tremendous amount to our organization and to our staff. So I appreciate that.
Well, you're quite welcome.
Thank you, Donnie.
Thank you.
Thank you for your service, and please pass that along to your employees as well. Thank you, Donnie. Our old business is still pending. There's nothing further there. Any other business that needs to come before the board? Not hearing any other business, our next meeting is scheduled for December 7th at 9:30 in the morning. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion to adjourn has been made. Is there a second? I'll second the motion. All those in favor signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone, and we'll